All right, so you picked up the Canon PowerShot V1, or maybe you're thinking about it, and now you're wondering, how do I squeeze every bit of image quality out of this little beast of a camera? In this video, I'm going to walk you through all of the must-change settings for both photo and video to get the absolute best results out of the V1. I'm going to show you which features are worth enabling, which ones you should avoid, and why some of Canon's options actually might hurt the image if you leave them on by default. So let's get into it. Now, before we dive into the menus, I think it's important to note that on the upper right here, you do have a toggle to switch between video mode and to switch between photo mode. And the menus in video mode and the menus in photo mode don't always correlate to one another. So make sure that you are in video mode if you want to set up your video settings, and you are in photo mode when you want to set up the photo settings. So let's jump into the menu now, and I'm going to run through everything that I would change to get the most out of the V1. Starting with image quality, I prefer to shoot in RAW. They do have a CRAW or compressed RAW option, but I found the photos out of the V1 to be already pretty small and easy to manage. So shooting in RAW, you're going to get the very best image quality. Next, you have a dual pixel RAW option, and this is usually an option that Canon has made available on their higher end cameras, so it is cool to see here. But what it does is it stores additional depth and phase data from Canon's dual pixel AF system, and then this allows you to make subtle changes to the image and the focus after the fact. But the downside to this is it only works if you use Canon's digital photo professional software. And so if you edit in Lightroom or Capture One, this just adds another step. And so for myself, I normally keep this disabled. And then down from that, we have cropping and aspect ratio. 3:2 is the native aspect ratio of the sensor, but what is handy is you do have a 1.4 times crop mode, and the V1 tops out at 50 millimeters full frame equivalent on the lens. So by using the 1.4x crop, you can get just a little more reach on that lens. Moving on, we have exposure compensation. This I like to set to be about 1/3 to 2/3 below 0. And so when the camera meters the scene, it's just going to darken it by about 2/3 of a stop. And this just really saves those highlights. Next, we have ISO speed settings. What I would change here is in the auto range, I would change the maximum and set it to 3200. Because the V1 only has a 1-inch sensor, it tends to get noisy pretty fast. And so setting a maximum ISO of 3200 just means that this camera isn't going to kind of set itself to, 32,000, and then you end up with unusable images. Next, we have external speedlight control. I don't typically use speedlights, but it is nice to see you have all the settings and everything built right in. Metering mode, I use evaluative metering. And then ND filter, this is where you can toggle on or off the built-in 3-stop ND filter. Moving on to picture style, most of this stuff doesn't really pertain to you if you're shooting in RAW. So picture style, color space, clarity, HDR, none of this affects the image when you're shooting in RAW. I have auto light optimizer turned off and disabled, and then highlight tone priority is also turned off. And I do this because when I am shooting in RAW, I want the photos coming from this camera to have the least amount of processing possible. And again, when we move to this next page, you have long exposure noise reduction and high ISO speed noise reduction. Both of those I have turned off because, again, I don't want those raw photos being processed in this camera. I want to do it after the fact in Lightroom. White balance, I just have auto white balance. You can do custom white balance, and you can also shift the white balance if you need to here. Focus bracketing, not something that I really use, but it is cool to see they have focus bracketing built right in. Drive mode, this is how you switch between single, high-speed, continuous. You have some self-timers here. This is where you can change all of that. Shutter mode, I have it set to mechanical. It does have electronic only, but I don't think the readout speed on this sensor is very good, and it even warns you that fast-moving subjects may look distorted, so I would use mechanical. Image stabilization, I have it turned on, digital is off, and then still photo IS is set to always. Quick controls, this is where you can adjust your quick controls. I don't actually use the quick controls, so I've never gone through and really messed with this. Meter timer 8 seconds, review duration is 2 seconds. So this is after you take a photo, how long that photo that you just took stays on the back of the screen. And then exposure simulation is turned on. This way, what you see in the back LCD screen is what the photo is going to look like. Next, we have shooting info display. I have 1, 3, and 4 enabled. I found 2 and 3 to be pretty much the same other than the histogram. So I just have 2 toggled off. You can edit these screens, so if you want to add or subtract different things from them and customize them yourself, you can do that. Grid is turned off. Histogram is set to brightness, display size large. And card free space percentage is turned off. Next, we have display frame rate setting. I have it set to smooth, and I have it set to suppress lower frame rates. This just means that the rear display is going to run as fast as possible and as smoothly as possible, and that's just going to give you the best possible experience when shooting. Reverse display on, auto power off temp is set to high. The V1 has a built-in fan and does a pretty good job of dealing with heat. So setting this to high just means that you're going to have the most amount of recording capabilities, especially if you're shooting a lot of video. Next up, the movie setting, and this is kind of misleading because this is only adjusting settings. So if you are in photo mode and you hit the record button next to the shutter button, these are the settings that it's going to use, but a lot of these settings are pretty limiting. So you can't shoot in C-Log 3. You have your shutter speed is auto, your ISO is auto. Everything is kind of dumbed down in this mode. So if you are going to shoot video, just toggle this over to the video menu, and that way you're shooting in the full-fledged video modes. So you can set this up the way I did, but I don't actually use this at all. Moving to the autofocus menu, you do have a few different autofocus operations here. So you do have AI assisted autofocus, servo autofocus, and then single shot. I like to toggle between single shot and servo. I haven't really messed with the AI autofocus, but the single and servo autofocus work quite well with this camera. Movie servo is enabled. I bounce between spot, single point, and whole area AF. And then you can actually, in this next menu here, you can limit which AF areas are even available. So I have zone AF1, zone AF2, and zone AF3 all turned off. Now going back, we have whole area is turned on, and focus mode. This is where you can toggle between autofocus and manual focus. Subject to detect is set to auto, but this is where you can prioritize people, animals, or nothing at all. And eye detect is also enabled. And then back to this third AF menu, I have preview AF enabled, AF assist beam is turned on. The limit AF, this is how I have it set up. Manual peaking is turned on. So this is if I am shooting in manual focus mode. I do have red peaking, and the level for the peaking is set to high. And then disabled and 5x on the AF plus MF menus. Moving to the blue menu, there's nothing really here that needs to be changed. This is if you wanted to do processing in camera, setting up playback methods. The only thing that I would really change here is highlight alert. You can either enable or disable. This is handy if you are clipping your highlights. When you play back an image, it'll actually show those highlights that are being clipped. And then this is also where you can change what info displays are available when you do play back an image. Moving on to network connection, this is how you can connect your camera to either a phone, a tablet. You can connect to image.canon if you want to do wireless FTP. You have Wi-Fi settings, Bluetooth settings, reset communication settings. That's where you would do all of that. In your file and card setting menu, you can create custom folders. So if you are doing a job, you can create a folder with that name just to make it a little easier. You can do different file numbering, format the card from here, auto rotate for both photo and video I have turned on and enabled. This way, when I import photos and videos into Lightroom and Premiere, the photos and videos are already positioned the way they should be. Next, we have date and time. You can adjust the units, so if you want feet and inches or meters and centimeters. Video system, if you're in North America, you're going to want NTSC. If you live in Europe, you're going to want the PAL. And then feature guide, I have this disabled. I have the beep disabled. The beep on these cameras is really annoying. So every time you touch something, it beeps. So definitely disable that. And then headphones, this is how you can adjust the playback volume in your headphone and what channel you want to be monitoring. And that is done right here. Screen brightness, I have this set as high as it can possibly go. If you saw my V1 review, you probably saw how I said the screen on this camera is definitely not bright enough in the daylight. I did have this set all the way up, and it is still hard to see in direct sunlight, so that's just something to keep in mind. Night display, if you are shooting at night, you can toggle this on. UI magnification disabled. Startup image, you can change this if you feel so inclined. Here we go. And then display resolution auto. Cooling fan, I have this set to auto. Lens retracts after 1 minute. Power saving. Because I'm shooting the video, I have everything disabled, but normally this is where you can adjust when the screen dims, when the screen turns off, and when the camera itself turns off to save power. And then this is where you can do a reset of all the settings if you run into some kind of weird issues. Custom shooting modes, if you do go through and set, you go and you set up your shutter speed, your ISO, your aperture for different scenes, you can then go in here, custom, register, and then save these to either C1, C2, or C3. This way you can quickly switch between, different settings that you'd already previously set up. Your battery info here, copyright, firmware, all of that fun stuff. Now the green menu, this is where you can customize the camera to be a little more, built for you. So button wise, I have it set up so the shutter button is exactly the way it normally is. The button next to it is doing video recording. The AF area button, the multifunction button, is this button here in the corner. This is now doing the AF area switching. So if I press this, I can switch between zone, spot, and single point. And then I also have the AE lock, which is this star looking button, set to toggle between single shot and servo AF. So that way, if I want servo AF, I can turn that on. And then if I just want single shot, so if I just want it to focus once, or if I want it to turn on servo, then it's constantly focusing while I shoot. Next here, you can adjust the shutter button functionality for movies, customize control dial. All of this I have left how it was from the factory. It's like any other Canon camera, so if you're used to shooting with Canon cameras, all of this is pretty self-explanatory, but you can switch the direction of the dials if you want. So it's nice that they include that, but mine is pretty much the way it was sent to me. Image jump, this is if you are playing back images, the front control ring, you can set that to either jump, go 1 by 1, jump over 10 images, specify how many images you want it to go through. Touch control is enabled. Here I have 1/3 stop ISO increments, and then safety shift is turned off. Safety shift is kind of a weird setting. Essentially, if you are shooting in auto modes and the camera recognizes that your image is either way overexposed or way underexposed, it will kind of try to change every setting it can to rebalance that image. I typically shoot in manual or aperture priority, and so safety shift is not really something that I want to deal with. And then here you can basically erase or clear any functions or any options. And then this last menu is the My menu. And the way I have this set up is My menu does carry over between photo mode and video mode. And so the first page of My menu is mainly focused on photo, and the second page of My menu is mainly focused on video. And so if we look here, we have image quality, toggling on and off the ND filter, the white balance, the different drive modes, the IS, and formatting the card. And then if we go up top here and we switch over to video mode, go to our menu. Now if we go to the second menu, this is where I can adjust the movie record size, the Canon log settings, the audio settings, zebras, the focus mode, and the movie servo AF speed. And so you'll see a lot of the first menu is now grayed out because this is all photo. And now that we're in the video menu, we have different video options. So let's toggle back to the front here, and in with your camera toggled to the video mode, we're going to quickly run through some of the video settings. Starting with image quality on the video side, we have the movie record size. I shoot in 4K 24, or if I'm shooting something that I need a little more record time, I can shoot 4K 24 IPB light. And so IPB light is about half the bit rate of IPB. So if you look here, 4K 24, I'm getting 3 hours and 6 minutes at IPB light, and I'm getting 1 hour and 32 minutes of standard IPB. So if you need a little more record time, IPB light is a great second option. The hit to image quality isn't really noticeable, so depending on your needs, Canon does give you both flavors. Here you also have a high frame rate, so you can shoot in 1080 120 frames in standard IPB. Next we have sound recording. I'm shooting in ACC 16-bit 2-channel, and built-in mic, recording mode auto, wind filter auto, and audio noise reduction is enabled. Moving on, ISO settings. Again, this is where you can set your high and low range. So max for auto, I have set to 6400. I think by default it's 12,800, but again, this sensor is pretty noisy. So 6400 is the most I would want to go. ND filter, this is where you can toggle that on and off. It is a 3-stop ND filter. For picture profile, I have Canon Log 3, View Assist is enabled, and I shoot in Cinegamut. Next is white balance. In video, I do tend to use the Kelvin for setting the white balance manually. So I have white balance set here, but you do have an auto white balance option if you want to do that instead. You can also do a custom white balance, do correction, and I have high ISO speed noise reduction again turned off, because if I am going to be doing noise reduction, I'm going to do it in Premiere Pro. I don't want the camera doing it to the image itself. Time-lapse movie mode this is disabled when shooting in log. So if you want to shoot in a time-lapse movie mode, you do have to shoot in Rec 709. Tally lamp is on, self movie timer off, IS is on, digital IS is off, and subject tracking IS is also off. Auto level is disabled. Again, I don't really use quick controls. Meter timer 8 seconds, and this is your time code options if you do want to run time code. zebra is turned off right now. I do have it set to a button here to turn on and off. I have my zebra set. Zebra 1 is 35 plus or minus 5, which is middle gray. So 18% gray is 35, about 35 IRE on C-Log 3. And then my zebra level 2 is set to 80% because 80% is the max highlight value that you can run on C-Log 3 without clipping. So if you run a zebra 2 and you see any kind of zebra patterns, that means that whatever is zebraed in your image at 80% is going to clip. Next we have shooting info display. Again, I just have 1 on, 2 off, and 3 and 4 are enabled. Grid display, everything. This is all very similar to how it would be in photo mode. Reverse display on. I have the auto power off temp set to high. Standby low res is turned on. Shutdown warning is turned on, and HDMI display is just, you know, how it came from the factory. Movie servo is enabled. I do have the AF area set to whole area AF, and the focus mode is autofocus. Subject auto, eye detect enabled. AF, I have this set to -4. I just found -4 is a nice spot to be, where you get smoother, kind of more cinematic autofocus transitions. It's not as jittery and kind of digital camera-like. Limit AF areas. This is where you can again kind of toggle on and off different modes if you want that. Manual peaking is turned off. After that, pretty much all of these other modes are basically identical in photo mode as well as video mode. One thing I did want to hit on is the custom buttons here. Again, I have set the function button is set to turn on and off the ND filter, and then the AE lock button, the star button to the left, is set to turn on and off zebras. So if I turn this on, I can quickly toggle the ND filter on and toggle the ND filter off. And then this is turning my zebras on and turning my zebras off. And then I can adjust the aperture using this ring up here. So if I wanted this gray wall to be, you know, exactly 35 IRE, that is kind of how you would do it right there. And then you can quickly toggle zebras off. So that's the full walkthrough of how I set up the Canon V1 for both photo and video. Whether you're just getting started or you've been shooting for a while, dialing in these settings can make a huge difference in the final image. If you have any questions about a specific feature or you want to know more about the V1, drop a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another one.